Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I am Monica Kurana, moderator of this session. Welcome you all on AICT Atal sponsored Faculty Development Program on Industrial Internet of Things. We are extremely honored to have with us Dr. Akanksha Sharaf, Assistant Professor, NIT Raipur. I heartily welcome Dr. Akanksha Sharaf, faculty members, and students who are connected with us through this digital platform. Presently, Dr. Akanksha Sharaf is working as an assistant professor in Department of Computer Science and Engineering at NIT Raipur, Chhattisgarh since July 2012. She has been actively involved in research activities leading to data science research and related areas. She holds PhD in Computer Science and Engineering from NIT Raipur in 2017, Master of Technology from NIT Raulkela with honors in 2012, and Bachelor of Engineering from Government Engineering College, Bilaspur, Chhattisgarh with honors in 2010. She has received gold medals during her graduation and post-graduation. Till date, she pursues for excellence and various academic success, including the top student in post-graduation, Master of Technology, Bachelor of Engineering, and throughout her schooling. She has received the gold medal for being the top student in Higher Secondary School Certificate Examination and High School Certificate Examination. She has completed her degrees and schooling with honors and studied from reputed national institutes. She has achieved various merit certifications, including All India Talent Research Examination during her schooling. She is the Vice Chair of Raipur Chapter of Computer Society of India and Secretary of IEEE Newsletter of Bombay Section. She has received Young Women in Engineering Award for the contribution in the field of computer science and engineering in 3rd Annual Women's Meet AWM 2018 by Center for Advanced Research and Design of Venue International Foundation. She has received Best Paper Award for several research papers. She contributes in various conferences as session chair, invited keynote speaker, and has published more than 50 research papers in reputed national and international journals and conferences. She has been she has been granted with 5 international patents. She has edited a book on data science and its application with CRC, Taylor and Francis, and is also editing another book on new opportunities for sentiment analysis and information processing with IGI Publisher. She is contributing as active technical retriever of leading international journal of IEEE, Springer, IGI, and elsewhere, etc. Dr. Sharaf has supervised more than 50 undergraduate and 5 postgraduate projects. Currently, she is guiding 5 research scholars for PhD. She has visited Singapore, Bangkok, Thailand for professional as well as personal reasons. She is the member of the Institute of Engineers, India, Life Member, Computer Society of India, Professional Member, Association of Computing Machinery, USA, Member, Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineering, USA. Her research area focus on data science, text analytics, sentiment analysis, information retrieval, soft computing, artificial intelligence, machine and deep learning. With this, now I request Dr. Kansha Sharaf to kindly acknowledge the audience by sharing your knowledge on the topic role of big role of big data in IIoT. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Monica, for giving such a nice introduction about me. And as somewhat we have delayed, so I think we should start by moving towards the topic, that is role of big data analytics in industrial Internet of Things. So I am sharing my slides. Please kindly acknowledge me whether it is visible or not. Whether slides are visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So, as I thought that today is the fourth day of this FDP, So I can assume that you know the basics of IoT and IIoT, that is Industrial Internet of Things. But whatever I have seen in the schedule, that big data has not been covered. And if it has been covered, then kindly tell me so that I can skip those slides. But whatever I have observed, that big data has not been covered. So I will continue that what is big data, what are the types of big data, and how that big data can be incorporated in IIoT, that is Industrial Internet of Things. So these
Yes,
are the my yes.
please. Yes, ma'am, it is not covered, please.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank
So here it is the brief outline of today's presentation. That first we will go towards the introduction of big data analytics. Here we will deal with that what is big data analytics, types of big data, why it is important here, and how it works, and what are its benefits, like advantages, what are its life cycles, and what are the tools and technologies which we can use in big data analytics, what are its challenges and applications. Here I have somewhat means when I prepared the PPT, so I have covered somewhat Industrial Internet of Things also. But if it has been covered, then we will skip those slides also regarding the basics of Industrial Internet of Things. So after then that, the third module is big data analytics in IIoT. So here we will basically deals with what is CCM module, what are its design principles, how big data can be incorporated over the IIoT systems, what are its anatomy, the technologies and algorithms behind big data analytics in IIoT, what are its taxonomies, what should be the opportunities, research opportunities, and what should be the challenges and solutions to adopt or big data in IIoT systems. So here we will deal with first the because I have segment this whole session in three modules, that is big data, second one is IIoT, and third one is role of big data in IIoT. So first we will deal with what is big data analytics. So here I have written that big data is a massive amount of data sets that cannot be stored, processed, or analyzed using traditional tools. Traditional tools means, like, suppose we are using somewhat machine learning tools also, like we know Veka, RapidMiner. These are what software tools which we can use here, which we can use in machine learning domain to analyze the data. And when we go for machine learning techniques or machine learning domain, here the data is not of that much huge side. We can consider lack of files, but not the billions or millions of files, because it requires some software configuration also. The RAM should be that much of high capability so that it can process our data. But if we want the whole like suppose billions of data is there, so that is considered as the massive amount of data. When we are talking about this massive amount of data, so how that data can be processed, like suppose if we want to perform any simple operation also, so that data is very enough in order to train it. Like suppose if we are going for machine learning, then then nowadays deep learning has also come. Deep learning also takes a lot of you can say system configuration or RAM itself in order to process the data. Clear? So big data, what exactly the big data deals with, that here big data means big is also a term and data is also a term. So here we can identify that big data is nothing but it consists of massive amount of data sets which cannot be stored, processed, or analyzed using any traditional tools. Like suppose we are using some database management system, but if we can't store that data within that particular database, so that type of data we can deal with the big data analytics. Clear? Now as we know that what is big data, that is, you can simply fit in it in your mind that big data means a lot of data will be there, a massive amount of data sets will be there which we are not able to analyze or process it with the traditional tools or the traditional softwares, you can say. So now the what exactly the big data analytics. So big data analytics is a process which is used to extract meaningful insights such as hidden patterns, unknown correlations, market trends, and customer preferences. So big data analytics provides various advantages, like it can be used for better decision making, preventing fraudulent activities, among other things, and a lot many more are there. So here you can see that whatever I told, that big data analytics means it is a process. Like suppose we have the data set, so exactly what type of process we can do in order to extract the meaningful information. Like suppose we have a list of employees, which is in billions of numbers, you can say. And now suppose we want to hire some other employees also for our company. So what should be the recruitment strategy should be there, and how we can deal with that recruitment process, what type of employees we want. So we have that type of picture in our mind, that no, we have this type of employees in our company. Now we have the shortage of particular type of employees. Like suppose some are very good in data science domain, some are very good in IoT domain. So which type of domain exactly the company will want? So that type of recruitment phase or recruitment process, the hiring committee will have to arrange it. Clear? So big data analytics means whenever we want to process a large amount of data and we want to extract some hidden patterns or some info information from that data, so that process is known as big data analytics. And why we are using this big data analytics? To make a better decision, so that we can incorporate. If we will make a better decision, then obviously whatever the company we are working upon, or whatever the institute we are working upon, or in our daily life also, we can have a good impact of ourselves in front of others. So we have should be that much sound to make a good decision. Now what should be the architecture of big data analytics? First one is the data sources, then it will pass into the data storage. That means whatever the data we have gathered, we have to store that data, and then we can use the batch processing system. I assume that all of you know the batch processing system. It is nothing but we have to perform the process or the task over a group of items or group of data, you can say. So we will means exactly making a batch of that data items. So, and when we want to process that or perform any computation task over there, that is batch processing system. So batch processing, then in the second phase, we have real-time message ingestion. I will explain this terms after these slides, that exactly what are these terms, what is data storage, what is batch processing, what is stream processing. Then it will perform the analytical data store, and then we will perform some analytics and reporting. Analytics means, like suppose some type of visualization you want to make from your data, or sometime we want some, suppose classification itself is a technique behind the data mining. So we want to perform the classification or clustering technique. Any type of analytics you can make here depending upon your requirement, and then we can perform some reporting tasks. And last one is the orchestration. So now big data solutions typically involve one or more of the following types of workload. Here please don't consider that a lot of contents are there. Actually, while making the slides, a lot of contents are there which I would like to share with you, so that you can have at least the basic but informative knowledge about this big data. So kindly excuse this that a lot of contents are there, because it is important, so I have covered it in the slide. So big data solutions typically involve one or more of the following types of workload. First one is the batch processing of big data sources at rest. Second one is the real-time processing of big data in motion. Means whenever we are executing some data, so that type of data, like suppose we have gathered some real-time data and we want some real-time processing itself. So that is one type of you can say the workload which can be which in which the big data provides the solution. Third one is the interactive exploration of big data, and fourth one is predictive analytics and machine learning. Here also machine learning, the predictive analytics, deep learning, a lot of techniques are there which we are using in big data. Now here whatever we have dealt with here, this architecture, here the diagram. So I'm explaining it by step that what is data source, data storage. So here first is data sources. So all big data sources start with one or more data sources. Like examples are application data stores such as relational databases, static files produced by the applications such as web server or log files, And third one is the real-time data sources such as IoT devices. Like suppose whenever we talk about the real-time data, so exactly what is real-time data? When we have the IoT devices, or like suppose IoT devices means IoT is what? Internet of things. Internet of things means here the things and internet. Both these words are very important. Things here, whatever type of things like sensor. Sensor, what it will accumulate? It will sense the data. Like suppose we are using 5 sensor, like suppose for measuring the temperature of a room or for monitoring the water absorption in soil itself in agriculture domain. So we have to use that sensor. And when these devices, that sensor devices are connected through a common internet or via communication channel through the internet means, so this is what internet of things means. We are connecting the sensor devices by means of your internet, and when we are gathering this type of data through this sensor and this overall communication over internet, so that is what the time data source can obtain. Clear? So whatever the data we are gathering through online medium or internet medium or real time data or real time, like suppose at that particular instant of time what should be the data, like for the sensing devices, so that is what real time data. So here the data source can be any type of data source we can use here for big data. First one, application data. Second one will be static files, which can be the web files. Third one is real time data, where we can use the IoT devices. Now second point is what? Data storage. So now what is data storage? Data batch processing operations is typically stored in a distributed file stored that can hold high volumes of large files in various formats. And this kind of store is often called a data lake. Means when we are storing the data, like suppose for batch processing operation or anything, so that type of means when we want to store some type of data in very high volumes of files, means large files we have to gather for that storing that particular data is nothing but we can say it as a data lake. So the options for implementing this storage include Azure Data Lake Store or blob containers in Azure Storage. When you will search these two names, that is Azure Storage or Azure Data Lake Store, you can find that big data means the data which we are considering as the big data, we can store using these two mediums. And there are other things also which we can use for the storage of big data. A lot of softwares, a lot of storage mediums are there which we can use for storing this big data also, but here I have considered only these two, which is which I have considered in constraint to your data lake. Now third one is the batch processing. So what is batch processing? Because the data are so large, often a big data solution must process data files using long running batch jobs to filter, aggregate, and otherwise prepare the data for analysis. Usually these jobs involve reading source files, processing them, and writing the output to new files. Options include running USQL jobs in Azure Data Lake Analytics using Hive, Pig, or custom MapReduce job in an Azure Insight Hadoop cluster, or using Java Scale or Python programs in an Azure Insight Spark cluster. So in batch processing system, we are creating a batch of data or batch of jobs. You can say your jobs is nothing but you can say data itself, which we can use for long running batch jobs. Here we can use it for filter, aggregate, and can also use it for preparing the data for analysis purpose. Clear? So a lot of techniques are also there for where we can use the batch processing system, like Hive is one of them, Pig is them, MapReduce functions are there, Hadoop clusters we can use. So a lot of things are there where we can use the batch processing system. Now next one is real-time message ingestion. So if the solution includes real-time sources, the architecture must include a way to capture and store real-time messages for stream processing. Like what is the stream processing? We will deal it in the next, that what exactly the stream processing will do. So here what is real-time message ingestion? Suppose if we have the real-time sources and we want to capture and store these real-time messages for stream processing, then we have to use, like suppose here I have written that this might be a simple store where incoming messages are dropped into a folder for processing. However, many solutions need a message ingestion store to act as a buffer for messages and to support scale-out processing, reliable delivery, and other messaging queuing semantics. Like suppose Azure Event Hubs, Azure IoT Hubs, and Kafka. So here we are using this three techniques like Azure Event Hubs, Azure IoT Hubs, and Kafka is very old. You can say like suppose I have heard this name from last 10 years that we can use this Kafka for real-time message ingestion. So here we can use three type of mechanism also to deal with this real-time message ingestion. Now coming to stream processing, that after capturing the real-time messages, the solution must process them by filtering, aggregating, and otherwise preparing the data for analysis. The processed stream data is then written to an output sink. Azure Stream Analytics provide a managed stream processing service based on Apache running SQL queries that operate on unbounded streams. So we can also use this open source. Apache is also one type of streaming technologies like Storm, Spark Stream, and HD Insight Cluster, which we can use for stream processing. Clear? So this stream processing is mainly we can use when we are capturing the real-time messages. So after capturing this real-time messages, what type of solutions we have to process? Like suppose if we want some solution, so we have to process it by filtering, aggregating, and preparing the data for analysis. It means that we have to process this stream data and then we have to write it to the output sync. So what exactly are the output sync? We can use here a multi number of platforms we can use here streaming the data. Now next is analytical data store. So what is analytical data store? Like what type means suppose if we want to store the data analytically means what type of tools we can use here. Like many big data solutions prepare data for analysis and then serve the process data in structured format that can be queried using analytical tools. The analytical data store used to serve these queries can be Kimball style relational data warehouse as seen in most traditional business intelligence solution. Alternatively, the data could be presented through a low latency, no SQL technology such as Edge or an interactive Hive database that provides some metadata abstraction over data files in the distributed data store. So here the Azure Synapse Analytics provide a managed service for large-scale cloud-based data warehousing. And this SG Insight supports interactive Hive-based and Spark SQL, which can also be used to serve data for analysis. So this is what analytical data is. Now next one is analysis and reporting. So the goal of most big data solution is provide insight into the data through analysis and reporting. To empower users to analyze the data, the architecture may include a data modeling layer such as a multidimensional OLAP cube or tabular data model in Azure Analysis Services. It might also support self-service business intelligence. BIN is nothing but your business intelligence using the modeling and visualization technologies in Microsoft Power Business Intelligence or Microsoft Excel. So analysis and reporting can also take the form of interactive data exploration by data scientists or data analytics. For these scenarios, many Azure services support analytical notebooks such as Jupyter, enabling these users to leverage their existing skills with Python or R. For large scale data exploration, you can use Microsoft R Server either standalone or with Spark. So here analysis and reporting means what type of mechanism we can use for visualizing the data or for reporting the data. Clear? Like suppose visualization means we have 100 number of employees and now we want the top 10 employees among them. So what type of reporting or what type of analysis technique we can use that so that we can obtain that these are the top 10 performance of the company. So here we can use some visualization techniques also or some analysis technique also like this language or platform like Python or R to visualize this data and to data and for data exploration task also. So Python is the now very booming and very familiar or easy going language, you can say. Like initially we are using Java, which is nowadays, if we compare for Python, then it is very much complicated, because it will take to rectify the error 1 or 2 days. But in Python, a lot of inbuilt libraries are there which we can use, and which is very much familiar to us also, and we can also it is very easy to handle also, because a lot of things, a lot of libraries are there which we can use for our research purpose also. Now coming to the last, that is orchestration. That is, most big data solutions consist of repeated data processing operations encapsulated in workflows that transform source data, move data between multiple resources, and load process data into an analytical data store, or push the results straight to a report or dashboard. Automate these workflows, you can use an orchestration technology such as Azure Data Factory, Apache, Ozzy, and Scoop. So these are what orchestration technology which we can use for processing the data operations, and for moving or transforming the source data, for moving the data to multiple sources, to perform any analytical data store process, or directly we can proceed to the transferring of results to a report or dashboard. So here we are using this orchestration for this purpose. So we have the technology like Azure Data Factory or Apache OZ and Scoop in big data analytics to perform this task. Now, what are the types of big data? So here we are classifying the big data mainly in three types, that is structured data, unstructured data, and semi-structured data. Here why we are classifying this in three types, because ultimately big data is nothing when big data we are using for analyzing, you can say. If we are considering the text document, so also the text can have this type of three classifications: structured, unstructured, and semi-structured. So what exactly here the structured means, which in which we have some structure, like suppose when we are able to perform the or store the data in a tabular format, clear, which have some specific rows, some specific columns. So this is what structured data. So here it is highly organized with dimensions defined by set parameters, like spreadsheets, like the Excel, you can say. Clear? So this what here we have a specific number of rows and specific number of columns in which we can perform the computation task. So here it's all your quantitative data like age, billing, contact, address, expenses, debit or credit card number. So this type of data is called structured data. Like structured data follows the schemas, essentially roadmaps to specific data points, and these schemas outline where each data is and what it means. Now second one is unstructured data. So what is here unstructured data? That unstructured data is data that doesn't follow a specified format for big data. Like if 20% of data available to enterprises is structured data and 80% is unstructured, so unstructured data is really most of the data that you will encounter. Means unstructured data means, like suppose free form of text data, like suppose web pages, you can say. Here we don't have any structure, like we don't have any rows or columns, we don't know that what should be the size of the data. So that's basically the unstructured data where we don't have any specific format. So unstructured data are suppose rich media, like media and entertainment data, surveillance data, geospatial data, audio or weather data. So the document actions also, like invoices, like what when we are going to purchase any item, so we have a receipt of invoice. Clear? So that we can consider as unstructured data, because there is no specific format is there. Records are there, emails are there. Emails are considered as a semi-structured data. I tell you why it is come under the unstructured as well as the semi-structured data. So here the emails also considered as the unstructured data, And when we are considering towards the IoT perspective, so here sensor data or the Tika data also came under the unstructured data. From analytics point of view, the machine learning data or artificial intelligence data also we can consider it as the unstructured data. Now coming to the semi-structured data, here the semi-structured data toes the line between the structured and unstructured. Most of the time this translates to unstructured data with metadata attached to it. So this can be inherent data collected such as time, location, device, stamp, or email address, or it can be a semantic tag attached to the data letter. So, example of semi-structured data is that if sending an email, so the time which we are used for sending the email address like to and from, the IP address from that is which we are sending the message, and the piece of information are linked to the actual content of the email. So in above scenario, the actual content, that is the pixel that compose the photo and the characters that make up the email, is not the structured, but there are components that allow the data to be grouped based on certain characteristics. Like suppose why it is coming under the structured data, email is considered as the semi-structured data, because here also we don't have a specific format of rows and columns. Instead, we have a format like we will have the to address, from address, the time will be there, the IP address will be there. But when we are using any image, suppose image we are using as attachment to the email, so it don't have any structure. Clear? So it will come under the unstructured format, that image, particular image we are considering. So that's why the semi-structured is what? Structure plus unstructured. Structure, here what we are telling about structure, like suppose we have a specific format of to address, from address, time, and IP address. So this is what lying in the structured format. And when we are using the actual content, like suppose we are using some images, some web pages, or some links itself, so it is not the structure. Clear? So that is what it is in the unstructured. So that's why we call email as a semi-structured data. Now, why big data analytics is important? So we can understand it through the real life example. Like suppose we will take the example of music streaming platform Spotify. So here the company has nearly, we can assume that the company has nearly 96 million users that generate a tremendous amount of data every day. And through this information, the cloud-based platform automatically generates suggested songs through a smart recommendation engine based on likes, shares, search history, and more. So what enables these techniques, tools, and frameworks that are a result of big data analytics? So if we are a Spotify user, then we must have come across the top recommendation section, which is based on our likes, past history, and other things. So utilizing a recommendation engine that leverages data filtering tools that collect data and then filter it using algorithms work. So here, what exactly we are dealing with the Spotify, that suppose we have that like suppose 96 million users are there in that Spotify company. So like suppose if I am one of the users, so what type of recommendation or what type of songs I would like to hear, or I would like to share. So it will depend upon first of all my mood choices, or suppose I want some uh, particular type of interest is there. So based on that, suppose if I am I am listening a particular type of song a lot of time, so that will be basically my recommendation, that I would prefer to hear that type of song instead of other song, so that I can I can like it also, and I can share among my friends also. So that is basically a smart recommendation system. Like also in YouTube, also in YouTube, or any like you can say social media devices, social media platform, we can see that a lot of recommendations are coming to us. Like suppose if we are reading some particular novel, so that type of particular stories or novels are coming in Facebook itself. In YouTube also, if we are if we are watching some particular type of movies or some videos also, so that type of movies or videos which we are seeing, so that will automatically come in our recommendation list that you can watch this type of items also. Like in Amazon also, when we are going to purchase any book, so suppose if we are purchasing big data book, clear. So after suppose if I have clicked on a particular big data analytics book, and then when we are scrolling down, we can observe that it will recommend us some things like you can purchase this 3 items along with this big data analytics, so we can get a offer of there. Or you can, means the people, some of the peoples also buy this book along with your big data analytics book. So that is what it is, basically a recommendation, like what type of search history are there, what type of purchases the other users have made. So based on their recommendation, we can also get the recommendation like, yeah, this type of books or this type of things you can also buy with your particular interest. Yeah, so that is basically the recommendation engine. So that is one of the very important feature of big data analytics, that we can get a recommendation as well as we can perform a different task over there. Now, how big data analytics work? So it will have a series of steps, like we can refers to collecting the data, processing, cleaning, and analyzing the large data set to help organizations operate their. So first one is the collected data. So here the data collection looks different for every organization. With today's technology, organizations can gather both structured and unstructured data from a variety of sources, from cloud storage to mobile applications to in-store IoT sensors and beyond. Some data will be stored in data warehouses where business intelligence tools or BI tools and solutions can access easily. Now, second one is that after collecting the data, we have to process the data. So now, what mechanism we can use here? So once it's collected and stored, it must be organized properly to get accurate results on analytical queries, especially when it's large and unstructured. Available data is growing exponentially, making big data processing a challenge for organizations. One processing option is batch processing. It looks at large data blocks over the time. So batch processing is useful when there is a longer turnaround time between the collecting and analyzing the data. Clear? So here, if we are, if as this FTP is mainly for faculty and the research scholars, so here we will know that what is batch processing system, what is turnaround time. And if you are not aware of these terms also, so it is nothing but batch processing system is when we are creating a group or batch of data. Clear? So and want to process that particular batches of data, so we have to use this batch processing. In simple terms, I'm telling you, technically you can also refer that operating system book also, that what exactly the batch processing is there. And turnaround time means from the initial time to the finalization time, the overall time we have to consider for processing the bit itself or the batch itself. So that is what the turnaround time. Here the batch process is mainly used and there is a longer turnaround between the collecting and analyzing data, so that if we have the longer turnaround time, then the next, because once one batch is going for processing or for processing the data, at that time the next batch won't. First it will have to perform all the processing task of the batch 1, then it will go to the batch 2. Clear? So in this way we can process the data. So stream processing looks at small batches of data at once, shortening the delay time between collection and analysis for quicker decision making. So stream processing is more complex and often more expensive. Now third one is the clean data. So here data, big or small, requires scrubbing to improve data quality and get stronger results. So all data must be formatted correctly and any duplicative or irrelevant data must be eliminated or accounted for. Dirty data can obscure and mislead, creating flawed insights. Yeah. So here we have to clean the data. Why cleaning is important? Because if we not clean up the data, then we cannot get assured that we can get a good accuracy over whatever the computation task we are performing. So we have to remove the noise from the data itself. Suppose if some duplicate data is there, they have to remove it. Some irrelevant data also we have to remove it. Third one is that if we have some missing fields in our data, so also we have to make a proper decision that which type of data we can fill for that missing data. Clear? So this way we can clean the data. Now fourth one is analyze the data. So here getting big data into a usable state takes time. Once it's ready, advanced analytics processes can turn big data into big insights. So some of these big data analysis methods includes data mining, predictive analytics, deep learning, and machine learning. Clear? So now data mining, what happens if we use the data mining? So data mining sorts through the large data sets to identify patterns and relationships by identifying anomalies and creating data clusters. Clear? Now next one is what predictive analytics. Here predictive analytics uses an organization's historical data to make predictions about the future, identifying the upcoming risks and opportunities. Like I already gave one example, or just giving another example, that what type of predictive analytics we can do. Predictive analytics means some sort of prediction we have to make. Clear? Like suppose if I have 100 number of students in my class, and after completing their graduation, suppose 50% of the students are going for 20% for IoT, and suppose 30% for some software development project. Clear? So now if we, this is first, suppose this is the first batch result, you can say that this type of students are offering means they are going for this type of R&D purpose, R&D jobs. Clear? So suppose in the next batch, suppose 60% of the students are offering data science, 20% are offering same IoT, and 30% are going for some software development. Accordingly, I will create this historical data in the past data or the traditional data which we have in our hand. Like suppose if I have that type of data for suppose 10 years. Clear? So now if I want to predict that how many students or what percentage of students will offer for data science, for IoT, and for the software development, or some other other domain also. So after 10 years or after 5 years, I want to analyze from that historical data or from that data which I have, so I can analyze those data and predict now for the 11th year now that this much percentage of students will go for data science, this much percentage will go for IoT, this much for security, network security, and much for software development. So according to that I can predict the future. And not all the times the predictions are very accurate that we can assume exactly 60% of data will or student will go for data science. It's not like we are making the predictions based on the past behavior of the student or whatever the data we have with us. So ultimately for analyzing the predictions or to make a better prediction about the future, we have to train the data. Clear? And after then that we will perform some test data over there in order to make some predictions. Clear? So that is what predictive analytics means. We have to make some predictions in the future based on the traditional or the historical data we have. Clear? Or data which we have, existing data you can say. Now next one is your deep learning. So deep learning imitates human learning patterns by using artificial intelligence and machine learning to layer algorithms and find patterns in the most complex and abstract data. Here deep learning is nothing but is you can say the inherited version of artificial neural network, where we have a number of hidden layers which perform the computation task over the input layers or input neurons, and then perform the computation task and pass it on to the output layer. So here it is basically a extended version of you can say artificial neural network or machine learning also. In deep learning we have a lot of training data as compared to the machine learning techniques. In machine learning we can predict the future, we can make predictions based on small amount of data also, but in learning we have to extract a lot of data to make the predictions. Now, what are the benefits and advantages of big data analytics? First one is the risk management, product development and innovation, quicker and better decision making within organizations, improve customer experience. So what exactly happens in your risk management? Here in big data analytics, we are basically interested in identifying the fraudulent activities. Like suppose we are receiving a spam mails, SMS, so we can deal this type because it is a risk itself. Because risk, suppose if someone has a stolen a bank account detail or some confidential things, so how we can manage that risk? Clear? So according to that, big data and a lot of you can say why here came the big data analytics, because a lot of data are there. Means you can receive, means when we are using this mobile phones, if you can observe within a day, you can at least 5 to 10 messages that belong to spam. Clear? Like suppose promote messages are also sort of spam messages. Calls also nowadays we are receiving. So this is what a risk is there. So how we can effectively manage this type of risk? So we can use the big data analytics also here. Now second one is the product development and innovation. Like suppose what type of you can say here use cases that Rolls-Royce, one of the large factors of for airlines and forces across the globe, uses big data analytics to analyze how efficient the engine designs are and if there is any need for improvement. Here one of the examples I have given, that which company or which use case company, that Rolls-Royce is using this big data analytics for product development and innovation. Third one is the quicker and better decision making within the organization. So the here the use case which I have considered is the Starbucks, which uses the big data analytics to make strategic decision. For example, the company leverages it to decide if a particular location would be suitable for a new outlet or not. So they will analyze several different factors such as population, demographics, accessibility of the location, and many more. So here we can use this big data to make quicker and better predictions. Now fourth one is the improve customer experiences. So what we can do here for improving the customer experiences, here the example or use case which I have is the Delta Airlines, which uses the big data analytics to improve customer experiences. Here the data airlines monitor tweets, find out their customers' experiences during their journey, delay, and so on. The airline identifies negative tweets and does what's necessary to remedy the situation by publicly addressing these issues and offering solutions. It helps the airline build good customer relations. Now the life cycle of big data analytics. So first stage is business case evaluation. Second one is the identification of data. Third one is the data filtering. Fourth one is data extraction, then data aggregation, data analysis, visualization of data, and then analysis of the result. So stage one is what business case evaluation. Here the big data analytics begins with a business case which defines the reason and goal behind the analysis. Clear? Like here we have to clearly mention that what exactly our goal. Clear? That what type of goal or what type of objective which we want to achieve. Second one is the identification of data. Like there are a broad variety of data sources, so which data source we have to use it for our business case. So that is very important, that is chosen of your data source. Third one is the data filtering, that all of the identified data from the previous stage is filtered here to remove corrupt data. Like data filtering means we have to filter the irrelevant data, you can say, which we don't want to use for our business case evaluation. Fourth one is the data extraction. Now we want to transform our data into a compatible format. So exactly what features we will use data, or what feature we will use to analyze the data, because a lot of features are there in a data. So we have to be specific towards choosing our or expecting features. Now, next one is the data aggregation. Here in this is data with the same fields across the different data sets are integrated. Now, next one is the data analysis. Here the data is evaluated using analytical and statistical tools to discover useful information. Now, next one is visualization of data. Here we can visualize the data by means of big data tools like Tableau, Power BI, View. Big data analysts can produce graphic visualizations of the analysis. Here, when we are talking about the visualization, means ultimately we are talking about the graphic visualization like pie chart you can use, or some type of histograms, or that type of visualization is also there. Like nowadays, text cloud and word cloud also use the visualization technique, so we can use that one also. Now, stage 8 is final analysis result. So here it is the last step of big data analytics life cycle, where the final result of the analysis are made available to the business stakeholders who take action. Now there are different types of big data analytics. So there are, I will just build it in a very short time. So here descriptive analytics is there. This sizes past data into a form that people can easily read. This helps in creating reports like a company's profile, company's revenue, profit, sales, and so on. Also, it helps in the tabulation of social media metrics. What type of use we can use here for display analytics? That is the Dow Chemical Company analyzed its past data to increase facility utilization across its company and lab space. Using descriptive analytics, Dow was able to identify underutilized space. This space consolidation helped the company save nearly $4 billion annually. Now, second one is the diagnostic analytics. So this is done to understand what caused a problem in the first stage. Techniques like drill down, data mining, and discovery are all example. And organizations use a diagnostic analytics because they provide an in-depth insight into a particular problem. Now, what type of use case consider as a diagnostic analytics? And e-commerce companies report shows that their sales have gone down, although customers are adding products to their carts. This can be due to various reasons, like the form didn't load correctly, the shipping fee is too high, or there are not enough payment options available. So this is where you can use diagnostic analytics to find the reason. Now, third one is predictive analytics. This type of analytics looks into the historical and present data to make predictions of the future. So predictive analytics uses data mining, artificial intelligence, and machine learning platforms to analyze current data and make predictions about the future. It works on predicting customer trends, market trends, and so on. Like use case will be PayPal. PayPal determines what kind of precautions they have to take protect their clients against fraudulent transactions. Using predictive analytics, the company uses all the historical payment data and user behavior data and builds an algorithm that predicts fraudulent activities. Now, next one is the prescriptive analytics. This type of analysis describes the solution to a particular problem. Perspective analytics works with both descriptive and predictive analytics. So most of the time lies on artificial intelligence and machine learning. So now use case of this prescriptive analytics, that is prescriptive analytics can be used to maximize an airline's profit. This type of analytics is used to build an algorithm that will automatically adjust the flight fares based on numerous factors, including customer demand, weather, destination, holiday seasons, and oil prices. Now, what are the tools that we can use in big data? First one is the Hadoop. It is an open source framework that efficiently stores and processes big data sets on clusters of commodity hardware. This framework is free and can handle large amount of structured and unstructured data, making it a valuable mainstay for any big data option. Second one is the NoSQL database, which are the non-relational data management system that do not require a fixed schema, making them a great option for big raw unstructured data. NoSQL stands for not only SQL, and these databases can handle a variety of data models. Now, next one is the MapReduce, which is an essential component in Hadoop framework serving two functions. The first is mapping, which filters data to various nodes within the cluster, and the second one is reducing, which organizes and reduces the results from each node to answer a query. Now, next one is the YARN, which stands for Yet Another Resource Negotiator. It is another component of second generation Hadoop. The cluster management technology helps with job scheduling and resource management in the cluster. Next one is the Spark, which is also an open source cluster computing framework that uses implicit data parallelism and fault tolerance to provide an interface for programming entire clusters. Spark can handle both batch and stream processing for fast computation. And last one is the Tableau, which is an end-to-end data analytics platform that allows you to prepare, analyze, collaborate, and share your big data insights. Tableau excels in self-service visual analysis, allowing people to ask new questions of governed big data and easily share those insights across the organization. So these are some of the tools and technologies which big data analytics will use, like Hadoop, NoSQL database, MapReduce, Yarn, Spark, and Tableau. Now, what are the challenges in big data? First is the big data accessible, because big data, a lot of data is there in big data itself. So how we can access it? So it is a very challenging task that collecting and processing data becomes more difficult as the amount of data grows. So organizations must make data easy and convenient for data owners of all skill level to use. Second one is the maintaining quality data. So with so much amount of data in, organizations are spending more time than ever before scrubbing duplicates, errors, absences, conflicts, and inconsistency. Like here, as I told, that a massive amount of data is considered in big data. So cleaning of those data in order to make it a quality data. So cleaning of the data itself is a very challenging task, because if we have 10 number of records, then we can easily clean. If we have 100 number, 1000 number, or you can say in a lakh numbers also, if we are using machine learning or deep learning platforms, then also we can clean the data. But if the files are in that much, billions of or millions of files are there, or data is there, so how we can maintain it as a quality data, or how we can clean it? It's a very challenging task. Third one is keeping data secure. So as the amount of data grows, so do privacy and security concerns. So organizations will need to strive for compliance and put tight data process in place before they take advantage of data. Now, fourth one is the finding the tools and platforms. So new technologies for processing and analyzing big data are developed all the time. Organizations must find the right technology to work within their established ecosystems and address their particular needs. Often the right solution is also a flexible solution that can accommodate future infrastructure changes. Big data industry applications means which type of industry can use the big data analytics. First one is e-commerce, second one is the marketing, education, healthcare, media and entertainment, banking, telecommunications, government organizations. These are a lot many applications where big data can be used. Because why big data analytics can be used in all of these applications? Because every application has a lot, has a many or a vast amount of data itself is there in all these applications, like e-commerce, marketing, education, healthcare, media, entertainment, banking, telecommunication, government organizations. Clear? So that's all about your big data analytics. Now we will coming towards the IIoT, or role of big data in IIoT. So here first we will only few things about IIoT, that is Industrial Internet of Things. So exactly what is IoT? I have already told is that what is IoT. IoT devices are categorized into three parts. First one is the things that collect information and send it. Second one is the things that receive data and act on it. And third one is the things that can perform both these tasks. Both these tasks means first can collect the information, then it will receive the information and perform the computation task. Like suppose yet collect information and send it. What should be the example? Like suppose with the help of soil moisture sensors, get idea when their crops need to be watered. That example I have considered in the very initial slide or any initial talk. That suppose if you want to use the sensor with culture domain, so if you are using that sensor for capture soil moisture, so the farmer idea that when to water the soil, clear, or the crops means when crops need to be watered. Second one is this is what collection of information and send it. That sensor will collect the information. No, the soil requires now water, so it will send the information to the clear. Now second one is that receive data and act. Like suppose when to print any document, clear, so printer receives that document and then print it, so it will create a command signals that I have to print that document, clear. So this is what receive the data means document is received and now it is going to print, clear. No human intervention is there. Now second one is that suppose when the car receives the signal from car keys, it opens the door, yeah, like going anywhere using car, on that door will get opened, clear. So this is things that receive the data or receive the command and act on it. Now third one is what things that can perform both these tasks. Like suppose the data about soil moisture, how much crops are watered, how will crops actually grow can be gathered and sent to supercomputers that will give the best output for running amazing algorithms. Like suppose be whenever we are using the sensors within the soil itself, clear, so it will extract the data. Like suppose now the crops need to be watered, it will send the command that now the crops needed water itself. So now suppose this particular duration of when we are noting this time, like that sensor is sending the signal of the how much time, like hours or itself. So we can get data for near about 30 days or what type of days we can consider, and according to that we can make some prediction over the data that in an average 2 days the crops need to be watered, clear. So that is what both type of task is performing, that the sensor is receiving the signal and sending it to the farmer. Now the farmer is receiving the signal and now we have to act upon it. Like prediction based tasks we can also perform. Now what is industrial internet of things? So here in past 3 days I hope you all of you aware of industrial internet of things. He will just give one sentence what exactly the industrial internet of things is there. That it will combine the analytics, brilliant machines and peoples. Three things it will come: IIoT, analytics, the brilliant machines and the people. Further, it also main thing is that industrial oriented means here the industrial devices will be used for transferring the data or to manage the IoT perspective. Clear? Here machine to machine communication and IIoT. So in the pure machine to machine and industry 4.0 context, that advantage frameworks and terms that IoT refers to is that they can operate semi-independently or with very minimal human intervention. So such systems will increasingly be able to intelligently respond and even change their course of action based on the information received through the feedback loops established in the framework. As mentioned, a keyword here is machine-to-machine communication, that's M2M, which is an element of the Internet of Things, but also refers to specific activities and to the initial stages of the industrial Internet of Things. So the idea behind machine communication is to reduce human intervention as much as possible so that the highest level of automation could be achieved. If we look at the concept of the Internet of Things, M2M dimension of the industrial Internet of Things happens within the sphere of the things, as you can see in the original depiction of Internet of Everything by Cisco. Here you can see a diagram of Internet of Everything. Initially, before Internet of Things, Internet of Everything came into existence. Here we can see here the four main people, things, data, process. Clear? Now when we are dealing with the communication between the people and things, clear, that is P2M. Then P2D, that is people to people also is there. Clear? And then machine to machine is also, that is the perspective is there. So here we have the Internet of Everything. Like we have the devices or the thing itself, the people is also means attention is also there, and data is also there, which we have to process it. Clear? So here in M2M type of communication in IIoT, the main aim is to reduce human intervention as possible. Now Industry 4.0 essence. So what here the Industry 4.0 refers to the intelligent networking of machines and processes for industry with the help of information and communication technology. That is platform Industry 4.0. Like smart machines is also one type of you can say the here second point, that cyber physical systems form the basis of Industry 4.0, that is smart machines. And nowadays Internet of Things very much used machines, smart like smart road, a lot of smart you can say. What is exactly the machine smart home? That is nothing but it is using the sensor devices or Internet of Things devices, that is sensor devices, and we have to communicate it through the means of Internet itself in order to optimize the human or the role of people or the manpower. We have to minimize it. So that's what all about the Internet of Things. Now this is Industry 4.0 digital transformation. So I hope it is not required now. I hope I should directly switch on to the role of big data to IoT. So now this is important. So exactly what is the difference between IoT and IIoT? Here the IoT includes consumer-based components like smart technology for the home, wearable devices, and self-driving cars. All of these technologies collect and analyze data relating to consumer use and satisfaction. They can also serve to improve process efficiency, health and safety, and create overall better customer experiences. Now, what here IIoT will do on the industrial side, however, IIoT focuses on industrial applications. More specifically, applications are concentrated on efficiency and improved safety. IIoT consists mainly of sensor embedded infrastructures, devices, and machines that transmit data over the internet. More and more are also using the benefits of cloud technology. Like IoT, analyzing IIoT data enables companies to improve their efficiencies and reduce redundancies in real time. IIoT also provides superior remote monitoring, asset tracking, and so on. What makes IIoT unique? IIoT stands apart because of it's transforming the manufacturing industry. Quite literally, it's changing the day-to-day operations of industrial companies. For instance, IIoT enables companies to apply predictive analytics to detect faulty pipes before they fail. This type of predictive maintenance is invaluable. A pipe or machine can be millions of dollars lost when production halts. So companies have always scheduled preventive maintenance, though that involved a degree of lost production time. So predictive maintenance uses sensors to collect data and find potential problems at just the right time, and thus minimizing the downtime. Now companies can accelerate product development by feeding analyzed data into the product design cycle and streamlining production instantly. Further, combining machine-to-machine communication with data means companies are achieving never before seen performance and efficiency levels. Now, how IoT used in industry? It is quite simple that IoT is a game changer for any company that produces and transports. IoT can create levels of efficiency that turn current business models inside out. And during production, IoT enables machines to self-monitor, identify, and even predict potential problems. As you can imagine, this significantly cuts downtime and bolsters efficiency. Likewise, supply chain processes become efficient and highly automated, and using the sensor managed inventory technology, companies can automate the ordering of supplies before items go out of stock. So this frees employees for other tasks. So it is a very good technology, you can say, that IoT which we can use in industry, because here the human intervention will be very less. And IoT technology also improves building management. For example, sensor-driven climate control removes the human guesswork in managing a building's climate. Also, monitoring devices can monitor entry points and want to threats used quickly, so thus strengthening the building security system. So now there are some examples of IoT devices and their functions. First one is the digital twin, radio frequency identification, electronic lodging devices, predictive maintenance, artificial intelligence, and edge computing. So if the time permits, then we discuss it in detail.
Yes, ma'am, till 11 we can discuss. Please
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah. Actually, sir, I have to cover that role of big data, so I am just skipping few of the slides. If the after completion of that, if the time permits, then we'll proceed to that previous slide itself. That is the application. So here, basically, here the manufacturing. This slide basically deals the manufacturing operations. Here, the largest industrial Internet of Things market is the manufacturing, you can say. So the first one is manufacturing. It is also the largest industry from an IoT spending, that is software, hardware, connectivity, and services perspective. Clear? So the top three manufacturing use cases are this one. First one, what? Manufacturations. Here, the manufacturing operations, IoT spent near about $102.5 billion in 2016. Clear? Now, second one is the production asset management and maintenance. So, whatever the operation are there, it will increase 57.5 percentage of total IoT spend manufacturing. Clear? So, whatever the money or time or spent in manufacturing process or manufacturing operation, inclusive of that is 57.5 percentage has been utilized in production asset management and maintenance. Now third one is the field service. So what exactly the field service is? That when we are going for the field service, the total manufacturing IoT spend will be nearly about the 178 billion for in 2016. Clear? So here it is three manufacturing IoT use cases I have considered. First one is the manufacturing operation, second one is the production asset and management and maintenance, and third one is the field service. So all this inclusive of all these steps or all these use cases, near about 178 billion total manufacturing cost the IoT have to spend in 2016. But here, when we are considering this IoT perspective, the human intervention or the manpower is less. So suppose if we are not using IoT, clear, so you can predict that how much manpower will cost, because manpower is, I think that today we have in that generation where time is very important as compared to the money itself. Clear? Because everyone has a specific time or limited time or a limited capacity to compute or perform the task. So here the instead of time, the instead of money, the time is very important. Now, industrial IoT in connected logistics and transportation. So, transportation represents the second largest market from an Internet of Things spending perspective. Transportation and logistics, that is T&L, firms are looking to move up the value chain with advanced communication and monitoring systems enabled by IoT. Here in India, we can also see that transportation is one of the second largest market in overall world, but in India we can also assume that we are entirely dependent upon the agriculture section. It's my personal opinion, I am not telling it is in a generalized way, but agriculture is one of the very important domain of India. Clear? So here, if we can utilize this IoT in agriculture domain. Nowadays, a lot of people are using this or researching in the agriculture domain itself. So if we can incorporate this IoT or industrial IoT in agriculture domain, then it will be very beneficial for us being an Indian, and to financially support our government and financially support ourselves also, because we are now highly dependent on other perspective also for financial terms or anything. But we should also aware that how the agriculture is the backbone of India. Without agriculture or without this farmers, we are nothing. It's my personal opinion. So we have to research in that domain also, that how IoT will enhance or will be used in agriculture domain in order to utilize the time as well as the money instead of the farmers itself, and we can get more benefited to the farmers itself with less hard work, because they are doing a lot of hard work in today's world and they are not getting that much of value. So it's my personal opinion that whoever is doing the research or whoever is at the initial level of the research, try to explore this IIoT or IoT itself in agriculture domain. Transportation also is one of the biggest, you can say biggest market where the IIoT is used, and we can also explore it in the agriculture domain. Now coming to the second point, that if we look at the overall IoT evaluations in transportation and logistics, we see the growing emergence of the digital supply chain and connected logistics reality, which is at the same time one of the challenges for the manufacturing industry and the transportation and logistic market, as such as many players don't have a digital strategy in place and are urged to speed up their digital transformation efforts. Third one is that this is also the case for the four pillars of the connected logistics system as defined them: IT security, communication systems, supply chain monitoring system, and vehicle transport tracking. Clear? So here also the IoT plays a very important role in all these four pillars of connected logistics. And along with the cloud and analytics, the IoT is a driver in the connected logistics landscape, and freight monitoring leads the pack. Now these are the four connected logistics system, that is IT security, communication system, supply chain monitoring system, and vehicle tracking. Now IoT in energy and utilities. So IoT has also been utilized in energy and its utilities like oil and gas, a smart grid, and plenty of other evaluations and use cases in the energy and utilities market overall are also a main part of the IoT market. So the IoT plays a key role in the overall digital transformation towards a digital supply chain in many parts and value chain components of the large ecosystem, which obviously also touches retail as well as the consumer facing aspects. So, however, from the sheer industrial internet perspective, smart grids are key in supply and network transmission oblique distribution. Others include plant effectiveness, maintenance, and data driven opportunities as a result of smart grids and IoT enabled operations and services. Now, this is what utility industry transformation. Here we have mainly 8 perspectives or 8 transformation, you can say, like from customer to technology, then regulatory, resources, innovation, competition, data, and business. So suppose if we talk about the customer, here we have the customer have the increased expectations, more digital and more they have energy management also. Now technology, a lot of technology has been now developed, like Internet of Things, smart grid, smart metering, digital utility, data analytics, tailored clouds. A lot of technologies are there which we can use for transforming the utility based industry. Now third one is the regulatory, that is regulatory challenges. What are the environmental regulations? What are the smart utility policies? That are all the challenges and policies we have to track using the regulatory system. Now resources. Now if we talk about the natural resources, then we have very limited natural resources. We have the limited sustainability also, and related to climate also. So these are what's related to your resources. Now next one is the innovation. So if we talk about the innovation, then there are a lot of innovation channels are there which we are transforming this or using this IIoT in daily life also. And they have also procured this new value chains, new customer offerings, and pricing models. So a lot of innovation technologies are there which is used to offer the customers a value demanded or the demand value supply chain management, so that they can also get a greater experience or greater or the company will meet the customer expectations. Now competition. As the competition rules are changing, very means we have to be, or the entrepreneurship or the startup companies will have to be competitive, because a lot of these startup models and entrepreneurship models are coming into existence. So a competitive environment is there in today's world, which are utilizing this smart utility also, and they can increase the customer choice also, and to maximize the customer expectations. Now coming to the data, asset overview, data insights or analytics for optimization, operations, customer engagement. So here nowadays in during this COVID time also, we have generated a huge amount of data itself, clear, which we can use it for analysis purpose or for transforming this IoT to the industrial purpose also. So a lot of data is also there, but we have to keep in mind that what type of expectations are there from the customer point of view, or what type of predictions we want to make it from the data. Now last one is the business, that is performance optimization, new business models, disruptions, changing revenue models. Means what type of business or what type of business models we are taking into consideration, and what optimization model or what type of revenue generation models we are using. Because only thinking that no, in this particular business we have to do this type of work or this, it's not like that. We have to maintain a proper channel for different for and we have to open our mind for different new business models also. What should be the new revenue generation models? A lot of things are there when we thought about any business. So this all about the utility industry transformation. Now benefits of IIoT. There are a lot of benefits of IIoT. I have just considered only 5 which are very relevant to the topic. That is, first one is the improved and intelligent connectivity between devices or machines. Second one is the increased efficiency, cost savings, time saving, and enhanced industrial safety. Because IIoT is basically dealing with from the industrial perspective or industrial point of industrial things. Now the major challenges in IIoT is, first one is the data integration challenges. Second one is the lack of skills, that manpower has very lack of, means some people or sometime we want semi-skilled person or unskilled person. So a lot of skill challenges is also there. Third one is the cyber security and data security challenge. So here are the top 5 challenges in IoT with percentage involved. That cybersecurity challenges in IoT involves 46 percentage. Now second one is the lack of standardization, that involves 35 percentage. Means this challenge has not till yet met by the IoT. Third one is the legacy installed base, that is 34 percentage. significant upfront investment, that is 30%, and the mentioned lack of skilled workers is 24%. So the highest percentage, or the highest means you can say the challenge which has not been incorporated in IIoT is cyber security. So a lot of people are now focusing towards how we can secure the IIoT. Clear? From cyber security point of view, it is one of the very important and one of the very important research oriented area in which we can proceed further to ensure the network security or cyber security using IIoT. Now analytics IIoT. So here what motivates us, that although IIoT and big data analytics have been widely studied separately, only a few studies including have explored the convergence of the two domains, because big data analytics and IIoT both are very different from each other. Clear? So a very few studies have been done by incorporating both these domains. So big data production in IIoT is evident due to large-scale deployment of sensing devices and systems in pervasive and ubiquitous industrial networks. Existing surveys on IIoT systems focuses on concepts related to adoption of IoTs, integration of IoTs, edge computing, computing systems, industrial marketplaces for IoTs, big data and virtualization technologies for IoT systems, technology advancements related to CPS in IoT systems, smart manufacturing, and big data applications for business operations. Now, the concept of concentric computing model, that is CCM, for BDA in IIoT. We understand the discussion on different layers of CCM in next slides. That is, here this is the CCM introduction. That first one is your data engineering, which includes ingestion, cleaning, confirmation, transformation, and related to safe tasks. Second one is the data preparation, which comes under the big data analytics pipeline, which will use refine, orchestrate, virtualize, blend, and prepare module. Third one is the data analytics module, which will use the building of data, scoring of data, modeling, visualization, and analyzing the data. Now, next model is managing and automating the pipeline. So here it will basically done the work, or do the work of administration, privacy and security, life cycle management, data provenance, dynamic data pipeline, monitoring, automation. And here there are five segments of this CCM. Like first one is the sensing system, second one is the outer gateway processors, third one is the inner gateway processor, fourth one is the outer central processor, and fifth one is the inner central processors. So these are the five building blocks of the CCM model, and the above one is the very important means how the big data analytics or will play a role in CCM, that is consist of data engineering, data preparation, data analytics, and managing and automating the pipeline. Now, CCM is defined as a multi-layer architecture whereby each is designed by considering the granularity of devices and systems. So the distance between data sources, that is sensory and non-sensory data production components, and data processing systems, that is onboard edge server and cloud data centers, is another prime consideration in the CCM models. The devices and systems in CCM are prioritized on the basis of multiple metrics, including computing power, onboard device resources, and network distance among data sources and processors. In addition, the design of CCM may vary depending on performance objectives of big data analytics applications, which include bandwidth utilization, ensure privacy and security, latency, in-network data movement, and on-board resource consumption in the case of battery-powered devices and systems. Now, the devices and systems in CCM are organized as follows. First one is the sensing system. Here, depending on applications, Sensing systems in IIoT maintain a great level of heterogeneity, starting from simple standalone sensors such as those used for temperature and humidity level monitoring to highly intelligent and always on IWSNs, IoT devices, and sensors. These sensing systems produce gigantic data streams. In addition, the integrated sensors in industrial robotics, manufacturing machineries, and product assembly lines also produce a huge amount of data. Intelligent smart devices used by the industrial workers, such as smartphones and wearable devices, are also perceived to be an integral part of future manufacturing systems. The integration of communication networks, networking technologies, onboard computational, and data storage units within the sensing systems result in the outer layer of CCM. The enablement of data processing operations within the sensing systems benefit from lower latency and reduced in-network data transfer. However, it may drastically consume energy in battery-powered devices and systems. Now, second one is the outer gateway processor. The outer gateway processor include the computing servers that reside at one-hop wireless distances from sensing systems. These servers include application servers, edge servers, smart switches, and smart routers, to name a few. The adoption of outer gateway processors takes advantage of energy efficiency and reduced latency. In addition, the outer gateway processors benefit from data reduction and data filtration at the edge of the internet, which lowers the bandwidth utilization and in-network data transfer on the internet. However, device mobility within IIoT needs persistent handoff and virtual machine migration schemes, which may increase latency in big data analytics applications. Moreover, the centralized coordination of outer gateway processors with cloud servers could become a bottleneck in full deployment of big data analytics application at outer gateway processor. Now, third one is the inner gateway processor. In the diagram itself, like here, first is the center, second one is the outer gateway, third one is what? Inner gateway. So here, what is the functionality of gateway processor? That the inner gateway processor include computing server that reside relatively closer to sensing systems, whereby the distance between sensors and computing servers is usually a 2 to 4 hop network distance, whereas in outer gateway it will be a one hop network distance, and in inner gateway processors it is usually 2 to 4 hop network distance. For example, the microclouds and cloudlet servers residing within the industrial wide area networks from the inner core of gateway processors. The deployment of big data analytics application at inner gateway processors benefit from controlling data securely and preserving data privacy on other premises in IIoT. The deployment of cross-layer big data analytics application at sensing systems, the outer gateway the outer gateway processors and inner gateway processors can facilitate the achievement of operational efficiency inside production units. However, maintaining the multi-layer for computing infrastructures and orchestrating the big data analytics applications require highly skilled manpower and cost-effective hardware, which may overburden small and medium enterprises. Now, fourth one is outer central processors. Here, it is internet-enabled large-scale computing infrastructures are the right alternative to gateway processors due to availability of third-party service providers. The outer central processors are the computing servers that reside at the forefront of the central computing systems, and these servers benefit from the data filtration and data reduction tasks. In addition, these servers facilitate controlling data routing and data processing at inner central processors. For example, cloud servers at the forefront of data centers can control the application execution data management, and data routing inside cloud cores. Now, fifth one is the inner central processors. The inner central processors reside at maximum network distances from sensing systems. However, these processors are designed as massively distributed parallel systems such as clusters, grids, clouds, and multi-cloud systems. The inner central processors benefit from the deployment of highly scalable big data analytics applications requiring massive processing capabilities supported by large-scale storage and communication infrastructures. Now, the design principles that how the big data analytics process for IIoT systems. The first one is the principle of designing big data process for IoT system is first one is interoperability. So first interoperability must be ensured amongst different technologies such as CPS, IoT devices, and concentric computing systems. Wireless data communication technologies play an unparalleled role to realize an interoperable system. Now, second one is the virtualization. This virtualization technologies at all levels must be considered for efficient service provisioning and delivery across IIoT systems. Virtualization varies in terms of platforms, networks, data, operating systems, and applications. Third one is the decentralization. This decentralization must be conducted to ensure highly distributed IIoT systems, and this decentralization varies in terms of system-wide data processing and data storage. Now, fourth one is the IoT system must provide real-time feedback to the stakeholders. Fifth one is service orientation that must be guaranteed whereby all system functions are implemented in the form of service-oriented architecture. Sixth one is the modular approach must be adopted for the system implementation. And lastly, that is the seventh design principle is system-wide security. That must be considered as the core principle. So these are all the 7 principles behind how the big data analytics process the industrial IoT or industrial Internet of Things. So first we have deal with the decentralization, real-time service orientation, visualization, modularity, security, and interoperability. So these are the design principles behind the BDA, how BDA process the IIoT or Industry 4.0. Now, rise of big data in IoT systems. Big data IoT systems emerge from a plethora of technologies. CPS, that is cyber physical system, refers to the integration of physical machine components with onboard computations and networking facilities. The cyber physical system and Internet of Things devices act as the backbone of industrial Internet of Things system and thus generate massive amount of raw data streams which result in big data. Therefore, real-time analysis of this data can improve machine health and lead to defect-free product manufacturing. IoT devices in IIoT systems refer to devices that can remotely sense and actuate in industrial environments. IoT devices either work as standalone devices that roam around industrial environments or are attached with existing CPS to perform certain predefined actions. The onboard sensing facilities in IoT devices lead the generation of big data, which may become useful for value creation in enterprises. The creation of cyber physical system and Internet of Things devices results in massive back-end cloud service utilization for the execution of big data analytics processes. And to achieve massively customized production, the number of cloud services can be grown immensely. So thus, big data analytics can facilitate in service selection, service orchestration, and real-time service provisioning. Now, the anatomy of big data analytics in IIoT. So the huge volume of raw data in IIoT is generated through various sources such as sensors, machine log files, event streams from IoT devices, human activities, industrial robotics, and cyber physical systems. So conventional systems collect data streams at multiple places, that is sensor nodes, cluster heads, IoT devices, gateway devices, edge servers, internet servers, and cloud servers, and transfer it to centralized server for pre-processing, storage, analysis, and virtualization altogether. So considering the complexity, heterogeneity, and volume of big data in IIoT, the CCM executes big data analytics application in various stages that can be categorized into the following. First one is the data engineering, followed by data preparation, then data analytics, and then managing and automating the data pipeline. So first we will deal with data and engineering. It is first and basic anatomy of BDA in IoT. So depending upon the performance objectives and application, BDA applications in IoT may perform multiple operations at the forefront, which include data ingestion, cleaning, confirmation, transformation, and shaping. So the process starts with continuous data streams ingested from multiple sources, and data cleaning aims to remove noise, detect outliers, and handle missing values, and also to detect the duplicate values. To avoid unnecessary processing, data confirmation may include partitioning the data and selecting highly relevant data sets desired in a particular application context. Furthermore, the data quality is improved by producing uniform data sets and parameter reduction in the selected data. Second one, data preparation. Despite the collection of highly relevant data, analytics should take into account data heterogeneity to maintain efficiency in real-time application. Data preparation may involve refinement, orchestration, virtualization, and blending operation. In refinement, statistical methods are adopted to convert structured and semi-structured data into a truly structured format. That is, what is the main of data preparation? That whatever the data we have generated or whatever the data we have gathered, we have to transform it into a truly structured format, because to predict or to perform the computation over the structured format is easier as compared to perform the computation over the unstructured or semi-structured data. Clear? So the main aim behind data preparation is to convert the data into a structured format. So in addition, the big data analytics systems are supported by highly managed and fully orchestrated data centers considering the relevance of data sets. The blending operations that are performed to fuse big data from multiple data sets provide a multi-dimensional view of underlying big data. Now third one is the analytics. So at the analytics phase, the learning models are trained for unseen data, and these models are primarily built for classification, regression, clustering, and frequent pattern mining purposes. Hence, in data analytics portion, we try to find out, or we try to utilize the data mining models like classification, clustering, regression, frequent mining operations to predict the future, or to predict or to obtain the final output from the input. So this is mainly a computation task or computational phase of big data. Fourth one is the managing and automating the data pipeline. So the big data analytics processes are executed as a sequence of operations during data engineering, preparation, and analytics. Therefore, a holistic approach is needed to execute and administer the big data analytics processes across all layers of concentric computing system. So the life cycle management is needed for full process execution, from raw data acquisition to knowledge visualization and actuation. So the data pipelines need to be continuously monitored for change detection, and the entire process needs to be re-executed to produce high quality result. Now there are some technologies and algorithms which are used for BDA in IIoT system. So these are, first one is your mass product customization towards IIoT lean manufacturing. Second one is the industrial time series modeling. Third one is the intelligent shop floor monitoring, industrial microgrids, monitoring machine health, and intelligent predictive and preventive maintenance. And the common example of IoT system is the concept of smart factory system, where the key attributes of smart factory system is the self-awareness, self-organization, self-maintenance, self-prediction, self-configuration, and self-comparison. So here, first technology or algorithm for in IoT is the mass product customization. Second one is the time series modeling. Third one is the intelligent shop floor monitoring, industrial microgrids, monitoring machine health, intelligent predictive and preventive maintenance. Now coming to the taxonomy of BDA in IoT. So first one is the data sources, which we have already deal with. Second one is the analytics tools. So there are a lot of analytic tools like analytics software, algorithms repository, some visualization tools are there, modeling tools are there, and online analytics packages are also there. Now third one is the taxonomy is analytics techniques like text to analytics. Like suppose what type of data we are using, based on that we can use the analytics techniques like text analytics we can use for the text mining domain, machine learning, data mining, statistics, and natural language processing. Now next one is the requirement, that is the maturity models, functional architectures, infrastructure architectures, integrated analytics. These are some of the points which we have to use in big data in IIoT. Now industrial analytics applications. So where we can use this big data analytics in IIoT or industrial analytics applications, where the manufacturing or operation processes, logistics, supply chain management system, sales and marketing management, research and development. Now analytics types, this is descriptive analytics, real-time analytics, predictive, prescriptive. These all analytics types we have discussed earlier. So these are all about the taxonomy of BDA in IoT. Now what are the opportunities of the adoption of BDA process in IIoT systems? So first one is the automation AI. Automation means like the transportation automation you can use. So there we can use the artificial intelligence, where the like self-driven cars are also one of the examples where the IoT as well as AI has been used. Second one is human machine interaction. Third one is the cyber security, privacy and ethics. Fourth one is the universal standard protocols for interoperability, end-to-end industrial analytics, and precision manufacturing. Here in precision manufacturing, we can also use precision agriculture also in order to utilize data and IIoT. So these are the challenges and solutions to fully adopt IIoT systems in big data analytics. First one is the cyber security. Here the issues are the internal attacks and the external attacks, and the causes for this are security vulnerabilities and openness of systems. What are its solutions? That we have to propose the intelligent monitoring tools. Second is the deployment of end-to-end security models. And third one is the system-wide forensic analysis should be performed periodically. Now second challenge is the privacy challenge, and what are issues behind the privacy challenges are identity breaches, personal data theft, business data leakage. Now what are its causes? First one is your bad security models, absence of standard operating procedures, big data and information sharing policies. Now what should be its solutions? By using data normalization protocols, privacy preserving protocols for users, devices and systems. Now the third challenge is the big data processing. So the issues for big data processing are big data integration, missing data streams, and high latency. Now, what should be its causes? That heterogeneous data sources, mobility and connectivity issues, and the data overloading and bandwidth limitation. Now, what should be the solution of big data processing? That intelligent real-time data fusion should be considered. Device-centric big data processing architecture should be designed, and the concentric computing modeling should be designed. That is CCM model. Now, next challenge is the standardization challenge, where the solution can be developing local, regional, and industry-specific and global standards. Now, the next challenge will be the connectivity and communication, and the issues for arising this challenge is the bad and inaccurate data transfer, the loss, and high latency. So, its solution could be need to create always on ultra high available and reliable communication protocols. Now the next challenge is the scalability, which solution is the near device data processing system should be configured, in memory data processing should be utilized, and the edge computing model should be considered. Now next challenge is the system management challenge, where the solution will be the device centric models could be utilized in order to manage the system effectively. Now next challenge is the efficiency. The issues are high energy utilization and resource constraints, device overloading. Its solution could be enabling energy, memory, and computation efficient algorithms and processes for big data processing and management and analytics in IIoT. Now these are the emerging technologies in BDA for IIoT, that is big data process integration into IoT system. For computing is one of the booming research where it can be used. So these are the two research areas where we can use this BDA for IIoT. First one is the big data process integration in IIoT systems, and second one is the fog computing. So thank you. I hope it will somewhat knowledgeable session. Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Now we would like to take some questions from participant side. There is one question from Mr. Ravindra, and the question is, what is the purpose of JPS command in headtop?
Hello. Can you repeat the question, ma'am?
Purpose of JPS command in headtop. Hello. Am I audible, ma'am?
Hello. Yeah.
Am I audible?
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am, you are
Yeah,
audible.
yeah. Actually, JPS. Yeah. Actually, the question is, what is the use of JPS command in Hadoop, Hadoop?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Actually, this command is basically used for you can say implementing or check out all the data nodes, the node manager, name node, or resource manager which are currently running on the machine. So we can use this command for basically for this type of checking out this features like data node, node manager, and resource manager sort of things.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, there is one more question by Mr. Srinivasan, and the question is, ma'am, you have listed many big data tools like Tabula, Yarn, etc. Any proprietary software available or all open source?
Yeah, these are you can when you are using this one, like Tableau is the open source you can use. Yeah, Spark also you can use here. So most of them are open source itself, which we can utilize for our research purpose itself. So they can use one by one. Like suppose if they are interested, just read them out in detail that what type of features or what type of platform you want to use according to that, because most of them are now open source itself. or if your institution has that particular, if they are not open source, if your institution has that licensed also, then you can utilize them.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, there is one more question by Miss Sonia, and the question is, though IoT we are reducing the human invention, but at the same time we are reducing the employability factor, which is the major concern for India. How we will justify this?
Yeah, that is one of the main challenge here also, you can say, because being an Indian employment is one of the biggest issue, and now everything is moving into the privatization. So we can consider this aspect also, but in the same time, if we are using the manpower, or if we are considering more focus on employability itself, so we want skilled labors, you can say, and that skilled labor percentage is not that much that we can utilize them all. As well as the time factor is also there, because if we are using a lot of manpower or man consumption is there, so the time is also increasing day by day. And nowadays in COVID situation, you can itself see that everything being online, and here a lot of technologies are used, and if that this technologies is not in demand, or it is not being developed, then how we can survive in this COVID situation itself. So both has, like science, we can say that it has the two faces. Someone is the positive and one is the negative. So both aspects are there, so we have to think in that direction, that how the human power or the manpower can also be consumption, can be utilized in a better way, so that employment in India could be not that much it couldn't have a more impact, as the technology will go on demand.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, there is one more question by Miss Sonia, and the question is, how does IoT affect the sustainability factors of industries, especially MSME?
IoT basically in MSME sector, because whatever I can't assure you that how it can be incorporated in MSME, but like suppose in MSME, whatever in my region, we are specifically when we are knowing about this MSME, there is for a small or small enterprise, they are providing the fund. Yeah. So for IoT systems, we can engage these IoT devices in that of a small management system or small industry oriented systems, where we can get a more profit oriented, and this MSME system can be utilized in that domain also. That how this IoT will be utilized in agriculture sectors specifically, as we are considering the Indians, that agriculture is one of the very predominant as well as the effective area for doing research. So the MSME in our region itself, the MSME is utilizing their funds in agriculture domain. So there we can use IoT things, IIoT also.
Thank you, ma'am. So we will end our session here. Now I propose a formal vote of thanks to Dr. Akansha Sharaf for giving your precious time from your busy schedule and sharing a bundle of knowledge with us. Thank you, ma'am. I also thank all the participants on behalf of organizing committee. Now I request all the panelists to kindly on their camera for group photograph. Ma'am, you are requested to kindly unshare your screen. Thank you, ma'am.
Monica ma'am, done.
Thank you, everyone. Right now, we are going to the practice session and we will be live again at 11:30 a.m. with the same link. Thank you, everyone.